All right, hello. Thank you for attending. I'd like to introduce Carl Heimer. Today, Carl is going to be giving a presentation on the CyberTruck Challenge. Carl has wide experience as a red team member, a researcher, an engineering manager, a security product validation and verification engineer, a cyber forensics practitioner, developer of commercial security products, car hacker, and also work in securing IoT environments. He is a frequent speaker at industry events involving the development of next generational workforce. He founded the SAE Cyber Auto Challenge in 2012 and co-founded the CyberTruck Challenge in 2017. Both are outreach events to connect industry with highly qualified students in the vehicular cybersecurity domain. Carl has cybersecurity experience with the U.S. Army, Lockheed Martin, Parsons, Battelle, and he is also a founding partner of Autoimmune. Carl is now Senior Technical Advisor for Cybersecurity for the Michigan Auto Office, part of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and the Michigan Defense Center.
Thanks, Brad. Can everybody hear me? No, grab the mic, okay. So one of the reasons that we founded these two challenges is to excite the next generation workforce, to put them into the field of cybersecurity in the transportation space, which I think is critical. So some of these slides are just the so what and the why, and then I'll get into the program a little bit. I want to talk for about a half hour. If you're super bored, throw things at me, and we'll have a dialogue, right, on other things. But I want to hear what you care about. I want to tell you what the event will do, this year, next year, and a little bit down the road. I've got a roadmap for the truck challenge a bit. So, intro. So this picture, by the way, is the class from the 2018 CyberTruck Challenge. This is the second year of it. The number of folks we had that are students. It is a growth from the first year, and we expect to have a growth the second year also. So, transportation space, right? Here's the promise. Transportation will do everything for you. It'll be an on-demand service. You don't have to worry about it. Anybody know what this is? This vehicle here? Nope. That's a GM vehicle. It was rolled out about a year ago at CES 2018 in January. There's a steering wheel because it's self-driving. It is on the roads, at least in some test environments today. Anybody know what this thing is? So this thing is called the Einride. It is from Sweden. What I'm trying to show is that some of these, way out there, future predictions that are on the roads today. The Einride has no cab for people. You can't fit a person there at all. You can fit a couple blade servers, and that's it. Behind this is a box. It's on a geo-fenced course in Sweden, going from a port facilities and storage facilities. I think it's 25 kilometers or 25 miles, one or the other. Uses electrical engine, etc. And this is now an in-service vehicle in Sweden. So the future of autonomous trucking is here to a point. The future of autonomous cars is here to a point. Anybody know what this thing is? This is a mobile hotel room. Mm-hmm. Yep. So instead of getting on an airplane and flying somewhere at 5 in the morning like I did, I would call this thing up the night before. I would be able to go to sleep. It would shade. The top opened up and drones will come in and drop off pizzas. Once they get the service architecture built out. And then it'll just drive you to wherever, Detroit in this case, and East Lansing. And how many years till this thing comes up, do you think? Being built prototype-wise now in Canada. So lots of things are missing. Part of it is the infrastructure, which is a park and ride, get the hotel experience. These little modules pull in here, and you got your swimming pool, right, laundry facilities. So if you have a multi-day trip, you can do that. So these two are here today. This thing is being built as the proof of concept prototype today. And then, of course, DOT's vision of the V2X, V2V, 5G to X, etc. Environment where all the cars talk to each other, talk to the infrastructure, talk to dog tags, talk to kids' belts, talk to etc. so we have no accidents. That's the promise. So with promises that require computation, we have the risk of cybersecurity breaches. And we have the fact that we have an active and, if you're a hacker guy, imaginative and dashing, right, adversary that's thinking of ways to destroy or disrupt. So this was earlier this year. This reporter heard Elon Musk and a couple other people talk and started worrying about looking at a fleet of cars as basically a weapon of mass destruction. Could be cars, could be trucks, could be whatever. So this discussion is starting to happen now, and that sounds pretty crazy, right? Except, there might be a point. So this is a picture of the kind of famous Jeep attacks from 16. So what happened was two researchers, Miller Balasek, were able to send commands on the bus, lie to the car about the state it was in, and they could do things that were within the functioning set of responses for the vehicle. What they did is lied about environmental conditions. In this case, they applied the active parking, parking assist, which should work when the vehicle is traveling 5 miles an hour or under. They're going 35, but if you know about the bus architecture, right, you can just tell the car that's going 5, 3, or whatever. Then they send the commands to park, and off it goes into the ditch. So, can we hack cars and make them do bad things? We demonstrated that. And as we move toward this kind of world where everything is automated, including trucking, we need to get that under control. Speaking of trucking, so no matter what you do, groceries, fuel, building supplies, general products, no matter what you do, America runs on the trucks, more so than maybe any other country. If trucking is disrupted, your way of life is disrupted. There was a study done last year and based on something about 2 years ago to look at the consequences of disruption or halting trucking over a couple days. So day one, we stopped getting fuel deliveries. We stopped getting mail to post offices. Our manufacturing and supply system is based on just in time. If you see a blizzard or something come in, your stores will be depleted. They don't have a warehouse, local or stock anymore. They require trucks to get it there. So that starts to have empty shelves. Usually with a snowstorm, by the next day, there's product in the shelves. But in the case that you've destroyed the trucking or you've compromised it by selling the trucks or commandeering them, there's nothing to bring the products. So really by day 2, you've got food shortages and hoarding. People are starting to make runs to the banks, runs to the cash machines. You start to lose some fuel, so no garbage collection, loss of activity at ports, etc. The ships that are coming in. Rails have a lot of electricity, but they'll be affected at some point too. After a week, hospitals are compromised. After 2 weeks, we can't have our municipal water function anymore. We have no more clean water. We're becoming Neolithic people here pretty quickly, aren't we? Day 30, there is no more water. Except whatever's in the rivers or sewage. And so nobody's really done the studies up to day 60. We're not sure, but a couple of people are kind of guessing, projecting out that it'll be the zombie apocalypse. So that's my joke for the day. It might not be the zombie apocalypse, but it may as well be. So how do we make sure that trucking survives? How do we make sure transportation survives? How do we make sure that we have a society because it's built on mobility? It's hard because we're putting computers in cars now. And computers have, for their lifespan, proven to be highly adaptable, and you can make them do unintended things. And so I think we've gone too far, right? We shouldn't make cars smart. We shouldn't make them be autonomous. We should go back to steering. Cars are meant to think and have brains, right? If man were meant to fly, they'd have wings. Right? Too hard. Any computer science professors here? Great. Is it too hard? Can you make a car secure? Can we make a network secure? We haven't done that.
You can't make anything totally secure. Right?
So, and then we try things and we crash, right? kind of meant to fly that have wings. Cars are meant to think they'd have brains. Except, as we know, we have a great air travel system. And so, why do we have a great air travel system, but not yet a great secure computer system? So we lack discipline, really, a definition of the network. How we get there is those things right over here. We need to understand the domain better. Maybe sometimes we take a look and say not all machines should be von Neumann architecture machines and things like that. I think that would go a long way in certain edge cases. And then we have to recognize that really this is a new discipline, a new discipline to take up. This set of things here, attracting students, providing certification, trying to get outreach, was why the CyberTruck Challenge was founded in 2012 and why we also founded the Truck Challenge. Just a couple things about where Michigan stands. Michigan leads the way in almost all of these activities with respect to cyber transportation. There is one exception that's not up here because this is a pro-Michigan slide. The University of Tulsa has now started the graduate program for commercial vehicle cybersecurity. So they have a degree granting program starting this year. That's the only non-Michigan real initiative here in this space. Just a couple quick words about auto. So the auto challenge is going to focus on a couple of things. The truck challenge will focus on a couple of different things. I want you to understand both. Both are open for college students. The auto challenge is immersive, 3 days of hands-on training, highly practicum-based, integrated teams of students. This will be high school and college, as well as the hackers, professional engineers, professional regulators, etc. And it's really focused on breaking or finding faults with the cars and their security models. Twin goals: 1, educate and excite the workforce for tomorrow, and 2, help forge and foster a community of interest so professionals, both from the industry and government side, can talk about the problems, work with hackers, understand what the attacks will look like, the mindset of the attackers, and come up with good problems. And so over the last 7 years, this event has had lots of things that it's been known for. We've been cited by the automakers in response to Congress. We've been written up as the only non-government activity in NHTSA's guidance to industry, etc. So lots of federal participation, lots of notoriety. This is the first year that Michigan students took the lead for mass participation in the event. And also, we've been international for a couple of years, but this was the most international of the group. We have 4 continents, 5 continents represented. There's a selection process for the CyberTruck Challenge. This is true of both high school and college students. Starts with a recommendation, goes through about 2 months of pre-work where you have to do assignments, turn them in, the selection process. We grade high school to college students the same. What we end up with is roughly 60% college, 40% high school. Out of the college students, we normally have PhD and master's degree candidates too. And this is last year's schedule. It changes every year. This coming year, we're looking at including some sensors. We're also expanding the charging station work. Department of Energy's National Labs, excuse me, is coming with a couple level 2 charging stations, and we'll be doing attacks from grid to car, from car to grid. Then we have an assessment phase. Assessment results are highly protected. This event exists because industry trusts us with their reputation and their product. Nothing gets out. You will notice that there are no sponsors or no vehicles listed for the CyberTruck Challenge. And that's because that's what we have to do to keep the event going. If you're interested, it's this July. Please send me a note. You can either nominate one of your students or apply yourself, or you can come with a researcher or a professor to be on a team. CyberTruck Challenge, the main topic. So, 2 years ago in 2017, we started to look to apply the same kind of event to the trucking community to see if we could track cybersecurity workers to trucking. There were a number of concerns. One of the main ones is telematics, but there are other ones too. So mission and purpose, largely the same. except for the heavy truck community. And again, there's a focus in this case specifically on telematics. There's also some other problems that we can talk about later too that are specific to trucking and not automotive. So,
Just a quick question.
yes.
Could you define telematics for everybody?
Sorry, it's a cellular connection from a command center, NOC, SOC, etc., to individual endpoints. So for almost all fleets of trucks today, there are an endpoint, or telematic endpoint. They're connected through the cellular infrastructure, sometimes a motion to remote detect network, but usually cellular, to a SOC or NOC. This will monitor their behavior. There's an enormous amount of information collected on trucks. If you're into data science, actually trucking is pretty cool. They'll pull many gigabytes off one of those vehicles. Do lots of analysis on efficiencies, route planning, fuel consumption, a lot of other things. And so it's information rich. But the other thing that telematics, of course, do is they connect right into the heart of the vehicle. And how many people followed the GPACs a couple years ago? Okay, so what the researchers did is they actually looked at the telematic link into the vehicle. They hacked. What happened was when FCA integrated the modules, they didn't specify for a private network, for their cellular link, and so their Sprint network was publicly addressable and callable. When the researchers found that, they just walked into the engine, right? So if you have APNs or private networks, you can sidestep a lot of those problems and make it much harder. But that wasn't done in this case. Now it's done, right? But the same thing's not going to work. But that's why you have red teams and penetration assessments to find out those things. So who attends? This is a rough breakdown of participants. Really, I don't want to have much more than about 40% students, because team composition is critically important. This is valuable to the students if they can pair on roughly equal numbers with industry, and government, professors, and hackers. And it's not intended so much that these guys are teaching and training. It's more they're working with the students, forming bonds, making mentor-protege relationship. And that helps go into the workforce. It helps influence the workforce environment, etc. So that's about the mix that I want. Here's participating colleges and some information about the event. We basically doubled the number of colleges from year 1 to year 2. I hope to do something similar this year. And we've already got a couple more international schools that are signing up for it. The curriculum here is a little bit different. There's more assessment time and there's less training time. Now, what we do not have yet is an ingest process like the CAR, the Auto Challenge. So right now we're working with universities that we know the merit of and professors that we know will give recommendations to the best students. In a year or two, we'll have an ingest process with testing, etc., like we have in auto. Right now, it's a function of time and money. If you're going to do it right, it's not an inexpensive venture. Also, so side channel analysis is an example of an elective. Side channel analysis is it's looking at some physical effects and things coming off a system to make interpretation of the underlying crypto. So in a lot of cases, somebody will say, "Oh, I used whatever. It'll take 3 times the life of the universe to break this key." Turns out the lifetime of the universe tends to be less than 15 minutes if you apply side channel analysis in general. And so our teacher for that was the guy that wrote this thing. It was a side channel analysis program that's used now heavily in open source techniques as well as government and industry. It's called the Chip Whisperer. If you haven't looked at it, Chip Whisperer is free. Run, download it. It doesn't take a lot of equipment to put it together. And if you apply it to hardware that's using HSMs, etc., and trying to encrypt their traffic, you'll be amazed at how fast these supposedly secure and viable systems just fall over for you. So, and then crypto is another example of an option block. We will change these out. Department of Energy is going to have extreme fast chargers on the truck curriculum in 2 years. We'll have some sensors. We have a lot of more focused activities we want to do with telematics every year, though. We've got a couple telematic vendors that are closely partnering with us. Yeah. You'll see that on the sponsor slide. So here's what it's all about, really. The value of the industry is to get students to care, want to do the workforce. And the value of students is to make the contacts to help them get the best jobs. And so for people that are already looking at this as a potential, career choice, this solidified their decision. And in the case that they weren't quite solid yet, it helped put them over the line. So we've got 2 quotes here that I like. These are both from students. One's a PhD student, the other's a master's degree student, and that's from the horse's mouth. They both now have jobs. They haven't graduated yet. So they're signed up at major companies. One with an OEM and one with a security company. Here's the current plan over the next couple of years. So what we want to do with that is get the pre-work and selection in for the ingest process. The college tie-in program is something you might care about. So we're working with a couple of universities now. One university is using the Truck Challenge as a lab portion for a summer graduate course, right? So they take classes, they come to the event, they work on it, they get notes about their performance, etc. And that goes back and becomes a grade for them. That's actually University of Tulsa. So what we're hoping to do is tie that into a couple other universities. There are 2 other universities in Michigan that are starting to work with doing that. It won't be in effect for this year, but next year or the year after, it's likely. We want to add a capture the flag kind of competition. So when you attack the trucks and or the telematic units, there's bragging rights. One of the telematic vendors, Geotab, has a standing offer. If you break a unit, you have to do a job on the spot. So that's not really capture the flag, but it is something that's nice. We want to add the following things as we move down the road, and of course, we're talking about electrical vehicles attacking from the grid, attacking to the grid, influence of smart cities, etc. And at some point, quantum crypto is going to come in, and all this hardware security we have is going to probably fall over. So why not try to understand how to deal with that? So here are the sponsors we had. We had 2 trucks the first year. We had 6 trucks the second year. There are additional OEMs and fleets that are going to provide more trucks the following year. So we're going to have plenty of platforms. The trucking community has very, very different composition of their vehicles. And so individual trucks are highly different from one another. Lots of different components. And more than that, components from a given supplier will vary from truck to truck. There's a lot of customization that you don't see in the auto space. So it's pretty interesting, and having more trucks that gives you very different kinds of targets. We had almost doubled the number of security companies attend and basically double the number of suppliers. These are the sponsors who are named. There are also quite a few sponsors that are not named. As far as the trucking community goes, Paycar is the named OEM. There were other OEMs that just don't want to be on the list yet. They don't want to be publicly shown. This one will be held the last week of June this year. If you're interested in being a student, or if you want to try to qualify as a hacker, or for faculty that wants to come and meet students, this is a great event. Please email me and come to it. So we want you. No, really, we want you to come. We want you to send your students. We want to understand if this is the sort of thing that appeals to you, or if not, what changes should be made. Or maybe it appeals, but there are some tweaks that can be made to make it better. So I asked this of industry too, right? And they're going to say if we need these sorts of changes or not. Most of them are okay with it. But from the college side, what they need to change, make it interesting to send students, to make it interesting for the students to come and participate in the event and meet all the industry and government guys. So I'll come back to this in a little bit. So here's kind of my little tag. Secure is a verb. I'm perfectly aware it's an adjective also. But in the realm of cybersecurity, if you use secure as an adjective, I think you're a fool. Bottom line. That suggests it's an end state. And secure, so cybersecurity is a contact sport. There is an adversary, and they are always probing you. And if you stop playing the defense game, you lose. So it's like a football lineup or soccer lineup or something else. You have offense, defense, and constant practice. So just want to leave that in your mind, and the same thing I leave in the company's mind. If you have a product, red team it to death every year. Okay, so discussion bit, we can look at these sorts of things. We can talk about anything else you want to talk about. Well, relative to these two events.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Sorry.
The challenge that I have with both, I mean, they're awesome events. I had a speak to auto challenge. The challenge I have is that most of our students are doing internships.
Yeah.
These are good ones, and I don't see this as a solvable problem. You know, they can't get away. You know, they're in Silicon Valley or whatever. I'm a professor of computer science. You know, so what I hadn't thought of before is maybe I should be sending freshmen down who tend to not have internships. Now, does that kind of make sense?
It makes sense. We can do that. I mean, so look, to be honest, I've taken a 14-year-old at Auto Challenge before. It was a very special 14-year-old. It was an evaluation process. And we've had PhD students at the same event. And everybody gets something out of it if you put something into it. So freshmen, that'd be perfectly fine. It also might be possible if you talk to us early and talk to the organization offering the internship early, that this is part of the internship process. It actually costs them nothing. So for the truck side, it is really important to us that economic state or condition not be a factor. And so we fly the students in, feed and house them, provide them all transportation.
Really?
There's no cost.
So if I have a student intern in Silicon Valley and they can get their sponsor to give them the time,
It's zero cost.
Okay,
So it's a time cost. And then if you talk to the sponsor and say, here are the courses, here are the people who will be teaching, you may be able to tell them what some of the physical assets they'll be learning on are, but there will be other ones that you can't. And here are the government folks. We almost always have regulators as well as engineers, and it's multiple organizations. So they get to interface. The interface operators are fantastic. Government, industry, hacker community, academia, etc. And so the organization offering the internship might find that it's valuable to invest the 6 days and fly it back.
Great. I've learned a lot just from your comments on that.
Okay. Thanks.
Kind of wondering if you could talk about sort of a higher level philosophy. It used to be that cybersecurity meant firewalls, but that's really not the case anymore. Could you talk about this idea of exclusion versus resilience?
Sure. Exclusion's impossible. Well, simply won't happen, right? So this really needs to be your design focus at the moment. If you need to design something with the assumption that you are breached, or if you aren't breached, you will be breached. Now that you know that you're compromised, and let's further assume that the attacker has root, they have administrator privileges on your system, how do you function? How do you operate in this compromised condition? How do you make health checks on yourself to know when you passed the point where you need to come offline? And then how do you reconstitute and come up in an good state? So resilience is the model literally everybody is using. Well, maybe not everybody. This is the model that most people are using now that are serious about security, because it's been shown for the last couple of decades that you simply can't keep people out. Having said that, there's layers of security that you can layer security model and defense in depth. So this is a defense in depth event layer security model. You're going with resilience. You've got a NOC out there providing monitoring analysis. This is much easier in trucking space because the NOC SOC is built into the way fleets operate. So whereas in the automotive community, you might have individual sort of stranded endpoints roaming around and they have to make a lot of decisions themselves, there is always the back end in trucking. So this box, while it's a question mark in automotive space, this box is absolutely present in the trucking community. So that's a great plus. And then, so what you were saying is the firewall, the IDSs, the anti-spam. So all of these things are things that you should probably do anyway. There are things here that can help you determine how badly the breach is affecting you at any given point in time, etc. But these things by themselves, without the ability to understand how bad you're degraded, and then make the reflash decision and come back in no good state. Absent that, this is it's a delight, right? A delight. And for a vehicle with a service life of 10 to 30 years, this delay is not that long. This delay is 3 years, maybe, if you have all these things. And so for any system, any durable system rolling out, you have to have that ability to upgrade. Oops. Anyone else? Sir?
My mouthful when for this thought. One of the real challenges for the autos is the over-the-air update.
Yeah.
Right? Is that now it was that it would be easier for trucking because there's an incentive, a better incentive for the truckers to update. So is that correct? Or I mean, your average consumer of a car probably, many of them just would never bother to go anyplace where they get an over-the-air update.
So there's a couple answers to this. One is my belief. My belief is updates should not be optional. They should be obligatory within a certain time window. And the reason is it's a matter of public safety. That's Carl's opinion, right? Lots of people say, oh, that's not true. But it happens with your phones now. And actually it happens with some of your cars now too. If you go looking through the literature, and I forget the year, I think it was 17 or maybe 16, you've got examples of Volkswagen having a problem and just updating everything and saying the next day, oh, by the way, we updated your firmware. Tesla does the same thing. There's other companies that don't want to be named that do the same kind of things. There's a number of companies that simply update your system, and you have no choice in it because they're liable for your system. And that's really the only way it's going to work. If you can have extremely old code out there that's not maintained anymore in its current state, and go to the car app store and download all of the garbage that's probably on there, and you're driving on a public road with a 3,000-pound sledgehammer, that's not a society we can live in. Simply isn't. So that's the philosophy part. And part of the reality part with some of the car manufacturing I mentioned. The other thing, though, is the trucks do the updates over there all the time, and a lot of car companies do. Some do not yet. Those car companies are going to be economically disadvantaged when recalls happen. And I'm not picking an FCA again, but that's just a great example. So they had that GPAC, and it was 3.2 million or whatever, right? Vehicles. And their response, because they didn't have secure over the air, SOTA, secure over the air update, is they mailed out key fobs. So key fobs are perfectly fine. You stick them in your computer whenever you find them, right? Y'all know about key fobs, right? Key fobs are nasty things. Oh, by the way, so this illustrates the point. There's this external hard drive made by Samsung. It's for media storage. Plug it into your computer and you give it a password, right? So it's protected. I've got this, I think it's 256-bit all password. And I typed the wrong password in, I can't access the stuff. I can't see it, blank drive. So I plug the thing into my phone. The password. I have access to all the files, everything else. Sometimes it depends on what the connection is. That's the problem with USBs, right? There's There's some low layer stuff that allows you to do things really that compromise the host that you're plugging it into. If you want more on it, look up something called Botchat Yankee from like the 2005, 6-ish. That's got lots of information on the specific technicals of it. There's also a paper on it in Black Hat Asia a couple years before that. So, right, so USBs are awful. What did the company do? They sent out USBs to put into a computer. So all the wrong training, getting people used to doing horrible security practices, and they have no ability to track to see if things are updated correctly. So there's an unknown set of vehicles that still aren't updated. They're never going to get them all if they're going to rely on people to update their own vehicle. I know this. I am the worst person in the world when it comes to maintaining my car. Horrible. I'm the guy who didn't repair his Ford tires. Remember, like a long time ago, the Bridgestones would blow up. I kept driving on them in my Explorer. My friend said, "You got to change your tires." Nah. Got to change your tires now. It's free. Change your tires. Nah. Are you crazy? Look, statistically, it's like $100 to fine. My tires blow up. Right? it was after all the bravado, right? Then they blew up, right? So I am the worst person in the world. I need the car companies to pay for me. So do you. Can I ask the question? Kind of. Okay. Who wants to come to the truck challenge? Who wants to teach the truck challenge? Cool. Who wants to be a hack of the truck challenge?
I have a question.
Sure.
Is this available for international students?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. If you look at this one, sorry, here are the countries that attended this last year. So we have international students in all events that we always have. So please come. And it's free. Well, no, it's not free. You have to work really hard.
Where's this from home? That's a road.
Macomb County, so you know where Warren, Michigan is?
Yeah.
So go down East 12 Mile Road, a couple of miles after Van Dyke, and it's there. So if you send me information or request for information, I'll send you the location of that and everything. But it's the Macomb Community College in the Sports and Expo Center. We can get easily a dozen semis in there, no problem at all, and bunches of cars. We've used it for the last several years.
How many students are you looking for?
It depends on the number of vehicles. So it is critical that the number of students or match the number of vehicles to maximize practicum. This isn't a lecture, don't want to be a lecture. Don't want people to have keyboard time and touch time and hold the dash apart time in the case may be. So on the car side, I want 6 to 8 students per vehicle. On the truck side, I want 8 to 10. There's a lot more truck, right? So 8 to 10 per vehicle. Yeah, so this year we might have 8 trucks. So 8. And so this last year, we had a dozen colleges or so. There are some additional ones that have already popped up. There were some last year that came in as observers, and like they thought, I would go back and try to get the students coming up. So, I know for a fact we'll have at least 5 or 6 more colleges, and maybe more than that. So there was some interest in sensors.
Yes.
Next year, the car side will have more sensor focus than the truck side. Just how it'll be, and probably the year after. If I look at the things that are probably most important for the OEM community, it's going to be sensitive electrification of vehicles on the car side. On the truck side, it'll be telematics and electrification of vehicles. There's also, and you and I were talking about in the car, there's an end-to-end sort of problem with tractors to trailers. So any trailer could go to any tractor. Any tractor will pull multiple trailers at some time. What's the authentication mechanism? How does handoff happen after the trailer is done? How do you assign it to the new person? Who is the person that owns the trailer and can authorize or validate the transaction, because it might be a different fleet, et cetera. And so there's some method engineering involved in secure trailer handoff to ensure provenance of material being pulled. Provenance is becoming an increasingly important concept within a lot of different manufacturers. So that's the important component of it, to provide sort of a chain of custody of what was in the trailer.
Do you think there needs to be a different approach to this as these systems become more and more autonomous? Is there some fundamental difference as vehicles start to be more and more autonomous than the way we're doing cybersecurity today?
Well, we should be effective. So, yeah, I've been doing cyber since the 90s. We're awful at it. Any given system is effective. And it takes a long time to clean them. There's this great slide out of DARPA. I don't have it here, but I'll sort of wave my hands. It has this curve. You've seen the curve going like this, right? That's the growth in malware, right? There's another curve that goes like this. That's the cost to protect against malware. So we're spending more and more money against more and more malware. There's another curve that's roughly the same, and there's little variations. And that's the growth in lines of code to protect against the malware. So this was made for cars, but I'll throw it up here anyway because it matters. So there's actual math behind this one, and it goes like this. For any given KLOC, there's a certain number of errors. Errors aren't necessarily vulnerabilities, it would be the wrong color of blue, right? But as you nest things, nest components, right, the chance of it becoming a vulnerability and not just an error increases. And it's a function of code growth. And so, not surprisingly, the effectiveness of all the malware is also high order polynomially increasing. Then the terrifying part is the average size of an effective payload is still about 100 kilobytes over the last 30 years. A thing that punches through all those multi-million dollars of protection routinely every year. So have to get cybersecurity right. I think a large part of it is actually having that off-site inspection capability and the ability to do a clean boot, the resilience component. If you've got those, I think it's fair to say that we're going to be better off. The other thing that I would do, and I alluded to this earlier, is so the fundamental architecture is the architecture that allows data and instructions to move around in memory space freely, and data can become instructions. Extremely powerful, very flexible. Some arbiter in a complex system can't be a fundamental architecture. It has to have a set of things that's hard-coded that cannot change its instruction set, so that you've got something you can refer to and point at and won't be viable. That's just my opinion. So we haven't done that in design outside of some DoD stuff.
Well, curious about liabilities. Do you have any opinion on how best to handle that? At this point, it looks like mostly the hardware people who are addressing that issue. Is it going to stay that way?
It's a great question. I don't think it should. So I believe that EULAs should be part of buying a car.
Can you explain what a EULA is?
Yeah, and user license agreement. So if you buy this car, you must do the following things. It includes stuff like, not downloading all of the latest social apps and not downloading questionable material, code of unknown provenance, etc. Again, this 3,000-pound sledgehammer on the public road. There has to be some level of personal responsibility. We don't like that as a society, and so here's what's going to happen. You don't get to own cars anymore. This is already happening, right? It's already starting to happen. All this stuff about ride sharing, etc. This is a car company's way, because they have to take back control of the code currency of their platform and own the things and provide transportation as a service. Because they know you're not going to update them correctly, and they can't afford their liability. That's the consequence of it. My opinion. But yeah, it's going to change the ownership model potentially. because they will update the code. They're going to have teams of people dedicated to the code and ours will cycle back to if you upgrade all of that. And those have an asset come and pick you up and drive you somewhere. What year that is, yeah, I'm not sure, but it'll be sooner than 15.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you. So, yeah, please take a look at my contact information on the slides. And if you're not coming, please recommend a student or something that might be interested. It's a giant emerging domain with lots of opportunity. There are far more positions for cybersecurity in automotive companies and the suppliers that now started in trucking companies. There are people that fill the jobs. So great growth market for your students or for you. Thanks. Thank you.
Rich, I might